Well, I'm David again. It's good to see all of you and good to be with you today. This is Transportation Talk with David. Listen, I like to draw on, things that people have told me, things that I have learned from others, and things that I've learned for myself by just digging in, reading, and actually doing the transportation positions that we have: operations, recruiting, retention. I have some safety. And the things I speak on are things that I have found beneficial to me, and I think they might be some help to you. I know we went through several episodes. I think we've had 3 episodes on retention. And, after I did those, a couple of people put out, not to me, but just on post in general, that retention is now the new buzzword. Well, it needs to be a buzzword, but what it needs to do is we need to have it ingrained in our people from the head of of our corporations, our carriers, all the way down out into the maintenance facilities, out into our fuel islands, our overnight management. We need to have retention ingrained, because there's coming a day very soon where we're going to see that the capacity now equals the supply, and the supply is going to outweigh the capacity, and we're going to be back into these times that we were before, where we just don't have enough drivers. Right now we're hiring all we can hire, and we're hoping some of them stay with us. That's not the thing we need to do right now. This is a time where we should be taking a hard look as recruiters, and as recruiting managers, directors, and vice presidents, a hard look at how we recruit. Are we recruiting for quality? Or do we have new processes in place? I always say we should be recruiting to retain. So that's something that to me is very important, is to recruit to retain. And that might mean spending a little more time with the applicant, following up with the applicant when they're in your orientation, or actually seating their truck. Let's make sure that they're getting off on a good foot. That just helps your operations department and their people to have a better relationship and a better success with new hires. Make sure that these drivers are coming in, and the expectations are meeting that they have are meeting the actual job and the job requirement. That's so important. As we say, you see, I hit my microphone, this likes to bounce around, but I get my hands going and never know what's going to be in front of them. But that's just that's so important, is to recruit to retain. Retention should never be a buzzword. I mean, right now we should have built retention programs within our companies. I'm talking retention department, and have someone that is managing retention, that is actually taking a driver when they get into orientation and they get oriented, that they actually take the driver from there into operations, hand them off to operations, make sure that they get a good clean truck, make sure that they have everything they need. If they have to go to another facility to pick their truck up, make sure that they have their rental or their travel arrangements, their traveling money, anything they need to get where they need to go. There needs to be someone there walking them through this. Remember, it's common for us. We know the process in our own companies and our own carriers. We know that process. But put yourself in a position where you just took a position and they say, "Hey, we need you to go over to our company in ABC, Kentucky, or Ohio, or Arkansas, or Texas, and just you need to go there, and they'll tell you what to do, and you'll see an office labeled 123. You're brand new in the company. What are you going to do? What's going to happen? You're going to be very anxious. You're going to be very nervous. You don't know how you're going to get there. All of these things pile up and start making people think, and especially our drivers think, hey, maybe I've made a mistake here. What's going on? There's no rhyme or reason in what's happening. So we start from the beginning, making it a good experience for that driver. We give them detailed instructions, detailed information, who their contact is, if they have problems while they're traveling, and we let those people know here's what's going to happen. We send them that information as well. Then we follow through with that driver. And from that point, we give them a day or two, make sure everything is going correctly. And it's called driver feedback, and making that person feel like they're part of something. First settlement check that comes in, we need to be on the phone talking to those people. We need to hold them for at least 90 days to 120 days. Communication, constant type communication. Does it all have to be in person on the phone? No. But what we want to do is we want to maintain a human touch. And we need a department set up for that. I get real tickled. I see, hey, recruiting and retention. Well, both of those don't really go hand in hand at times. Think about this. The recruiter goes, well, if they retain too many, I'm not going to have a job. So I need to make sure that I still have a job. And that's sad to say in some cases. Now, a lot of recruiters know that if we can have a good retention policy, if we can have a good feedback and keep turnover down, that our companies can grow. And the worst case is we can build more, get growth, get new accounts, hire more drivers, but those drivers stay and the company grows and becomes more solid. So that's what good recruiting departments want to see happen. That's why we call it recruiting to retain. So don't ever let retention be a buzzword. If it's a buzzword in your company, let's make a change there. Now, we said in the beginning when we started talking about this, in all three sessions we brought up, it has to be bought in from the top down, from the head of the company, the CEO, the president, all the way through the executive group, all the way through the mid executive group. It has to permeate through every department. It has to be the focal point of retaining, retaining, retaining. Now, there are some people that we cannot retain. We know that. But to retain who we need to retain, that's so important. And the leaders of our companies need to put their teeth into it and let their lieutenants and let their captains, as we call them, know. Let their vice presidents, let their directors know this is not going to be the norm. I'm going to be checking on this, and I'm getting reports back from our retention department. That is so important that you have that set up. Now, can your vice president of recruiting and retention, can they be the same person? Absolutely. They will have a director of retention. But the retention department needs to have the teeth. They need to be able to help make decisions when a driver is in trouble. They need to be able to make sure they get all sides of the story and they get that driver the help. And that driver needs to also know that, hey, there's two sides of every story. Actually, sometimes there's three sides: your side, the company side, and the actual truth of the matter, because everybody's going to have some truth mixed in there. But we tell the driver at times it might be where you need to make some changes to make this work and to be a very good driver and make a lot of money within our organization. Not every company operates the same. So we need to make sure that we are not just treating this as a buzzword. I know I've personally talked to a lot of people at a lot of places about retention. And I have talked and I've talked and I've talked. And I can and then I know people that have put feet to it, and they start seeing over time the money that starts coming back to them in the form of drivers not leaving as quick, drivers staying longer, them keeping trucks full, them having to be able to go out and get new business. And just on the driver count alone, cutting 10, 15%, let's not use 10, let's use meat, let's say 15 to 20% of a reduction in your turnover from the previous year. If you have, and I've said this over and over, if you have a 500 truck company, there's no way around it but saying you will put another $1.2 million back into your bottom line over the next 12 months. If you work your retention program, if you have a program that truly has teeth in it, that could be using a third party. There are some great ones out there. That could be using your own people and making sure they are coached, trained, have a third party teach them and help them and just kind of look at that. You're not going to spend $1.2 million on a retention department. You're going to see a return on your retention. I call that the ROR, and that's your investment back to you. It can't do nothing but help if the whole organization buys into it. So it can't do nothing but help. So that's a big thing you want to look at there. Now the other thing would be, as I say, you have to have that director and the vice president. They have to be on the same page, and they have to be in constant communication with the organization and let them know what the scorecard is. It goes back to what I said earlier, I think in the last episode that we had, that was truly digging into all of this. And this is kind of like a wrap up, but truly digging in. It goes back to trust. We need to trust each other. Operations doesn't trust recruiting. Recruiting says operations and safety might run people off, or that they don't care. They don't understand what it takes to get a driver. And that's, some of that could be true. Some of it could not be true. Recruiting doesn't understand how drivers react, once they're being dispatched. So we need to get into trust. And I went through that speed of trust with you guys. And I told you that book, invest, don't buy it, invest in that speed of trust program. It worked wonders for myself. It worked wonders in the department that I had the pleasure of overseeing. It worked wonders, and they brought it to me, and I was kicking and screaming into it. But once I dug in and started reading the book, I listened to a lot of the book on audio. I read, and I said, this is what we need. I need trust. I need to develop trust among my people. I need to develop trust among my peers. I need to develop that trust, and we both need to have a trust factor and a trust score. So that's something you could do with your organization and build trust so that the retention program starts to take hold. I promise you, in the next 6 months, when this big thing we call transportation and this big ball of shipping and receiving and freight rates and supply and demand start getting imbalanced in the opposite direction, you're going to want to have a retention program that will keep some of these drivers. During this time, though, that we are looking for drivers, be more selective on who you put in there, and do some testing on that and see, did that help my retention? Now, that's pretty much what I wanted to wrap up and put all 3 episodes into one ball and bring it back to you and just kind of give that overview. I'm excited about retention. I'm excited about recruiting. We meet new people every day in our recruiting world. We meet new people that can help our companies grow and go forward. In our talent acquisition departments, we get to meet new people. These same principles will apply in your talent acquisition departments, not just in a driver. These will apply throughout the whole organization and will make it stronger, make it more active, have a better culture there. And we all want to build a diverse organization and an organization with an inclusive culture, and a culture that induces, I call it the good work vibe, so to speak. We want that. And having this retention in place throughout the whole organization not only helps the company become stronger, not only does it help you see it in a better light, but it helps build from the ground up, a foundation that will help your recruiting department. It will help your operations department. And the biggest thing, it will help your safety department, because now they have people that are staying, that are safe, that are actually contributors to the company's overall health of safety. No matter if it's in the office setting or in a regulated setting, these types of programs are your foundation. I hope you've been a help. This has been a help to you. My mouth's drying out. Hold on. But I hope you've been a help. I hope you've gotten something out of it. I know every time I talk about something, I come back and look at it and I go, that's for me too. So I hope that this transportation talks with David has been a big help to you guys. If you need my help, if you want me to give some advice, listen, I'll do it for you. I will talk to you. Now, you called me. I'm not going to charge you to pick up the phone and call David. All of my contact information is on my LinkedIn account. Go under contact information. You've got my email, you've got my cell phone, you got my office phone, you've got everything you need to get in contact with me. I would love to have the conversation with you on what a good recruiting program, good practices, good policies can do when you recruit to retain. Hey, until next time, be safe. Have a great rest of your summer. And we thank you for being with David on Transportation Talks. Have a great day. Bye bye.